Now, there's been a slight delay in the return of Nigerians voluntarily returning to the country from the United Arab Emirates as a chartered plane conveying them made a U-turn to base after a pregnant woman was delivered of a baby on board with some complications. The chairman of the Nigerian in Diaspora Commission confirmed to Channel Television that the plane, which was scheduled to arrive 3 p.m., had to make a return for the woman to get medical attention. She explains that she's currently being treated in a Dubai hospital while the Nigerian ambassador in Dubai and officials of the embassy are in touch with the mother and child who are said to be in good condition. The plane conveying the voluntary returnees are now expected to arrive in Nigeria at 7 p.m. Well, according to the World Press Freedom Ranking, Nigeria moved up 5 steps, ranking 115 among 180 countries. According to Reporters Without Borders, Nigeria moved up 5 steps from 120. However, the report notes that Nigeria is one of West Africa's most dangerous and difficult countries for journalists who are often spied on, attacked, arbitrarily arrested, or even killed. Well, we'll zero in on our theme this evening as frontline journalists, how they cope, or they're coping under the coronavirus pandemic. And joining us on the program is Mr. Chris Isuguzo, the president of the Nigeria Union of Journalists, NUJ. Thank you for joining us at this time. Tell us, journalists are frontline workers as well as they battle the pandemic, creating awareness, disseminating information. What challenges would you say are peculiar to journalists at such a time as this?
Well, at this time, you've already captured it. The journalists were on the front line in the ongoing effort to contain the spread of this virus. As I speak, we have about 3 journalists in the isolation centers in Katsina, in Sokoto, and of course in Adamawa. A journalist, we've lost one in Sokoto, the journalist working with one of the newspapers in the country. We've lost him as a result of this COVID-19 pandemic. Clearly, just like the health workers, the journalists, we are on the front line because the nation is clearly looking up to us to inform, educate them, enlighten them, and of course mobilize them as far as this rampaging pandemic is concerned. And being on the front line, there is no way a good coach will leave his playmaker on the sideline or sitting on the bench when you are facing very formidable opposition. The journalists, the media workers, we are like the playmakers, and we cannot be relegated to the background. We must be there, and that's why we're on the front line and facing this challenge at this critical point in time. Is indeed not the best of time, but we cannot leave the pitch because the opposition is very, very stiff.
Solution. It's also a lot of personal risks of exposure. We hear that some have been infected as well, and also violations of their rights from state and non-state actors. I mean, only yesterday, our business correspondent was harassed and violated while in the line of duty. And we see this all the time during elections as well. Can we anticipate government protection while also remaining independent?
Well, you've made reference to the report released by Reporters Without Borders, which placed us on the 115 on the Global Press Freedom Index. And that clearly speaks volume, because when you compare it with other African countries, you see that Nigeria is far, far behind in terms of safety and security of journalists, in terms of press freedom. And that's why we are appealing to government and, of course, state actors, like you called them, that this is the time for us, for them actually, to ensure that we are safe and secured, because we are playing a very, very interesting role at this critical point in time. We cannot afford not to be, safe at this time. We've received reports across the country, in the FCT, across the states, of how state actors are harassing journalists that are on duty. And this is very, very condemnable because we are all supposed to be partners in progress. We are stakeholders in the fight against this deadly pandemic. And the state actors must have to come to terms with this reality. They cannot continue to treat us as foreigners, a case of we versus them. No, all of us are involved. The health workers, the journalists, the security operatives, all of us must have to team up in order to ensure that we contain this pandemic. A situation where we keep receiving reports of attacks on our security. We are moving. They are clamping down on us, intimidating us, harassing us. This is not good for a democratic system. So I want to once again appeal to those saddled with the responsibility of ensuring security and safety of journalists to please up the ante, because we cannot continue to be receiving all these incessant attacks.
All right, we'd like to appreciate your time. The President of the Nigeria Union of Journalists, Mr. Chris Guzo, thank you for joining us on the program. Still to come on our COVID-19 update. On the second half of the program, we discuss domestic violations in Nigeria following the directives on COVID-19. Join us again.